Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Last week there was a confusion uh, about which link. So I think now we are okay because I was on the different link and we were talking and you're all logged in different way link. So um, uh, let me just recollect what I was saying that actually from the first chapter of Agama Prakarana, he describes, Gaudapada describes about the Omkara. And let me give some idea about this Omkara. He says that Akaro nayate Vishwam, Ukaraschapi Taijasam, Makara punaha Prajnam, Namatre Vidyate Gatihi. Namatre Vidyate Gatihi. This is the 23rd Sutra in the first chapter of Gaudapada Karika. Now, if you all these three states, what we have, wakeful, dream, and deep sleep state, think that we go through that, not that there's anything which is more important, which is less important. Everything is there. And that's why he says that Trishu Dhamaha in the previous sutra, he says 22nd sutra, Dhama, like for example, you are visiting various uh, Punya Dhamas, like, going to Char Dham Yatra. So every day we are doing this Char Dham Yatra. That is the idea. And out of which these three dhamas that is there, wakeful, dream, and deep sleep state, they are the dhamas, they're called as dhama because basically that it is the divine going through this experience of these things. Behind that is all the divinity. Without that divinity, that wakeful state experience is not there, dream is not there, deep sleep is not there. And what is that divinity we are thinking of? What is that God we are thinking of? The God is nothing but the Turiya. God is nothing but me, the I. You are the divinity. And in why he calls that you are the divinity is the simple idea. You are the witness of all these three states. All the three states, you are the witness, not touched by any of these things, not caught up by anything. You are free from these things. In fact, it should give us a very important idea that, like the way that in the wakeful state, we have this witness and wakeful personality who is also involved in that. Wakeful personality who is involving in that is Vaishvanara. And then the behind that, somebody who is observing is supposed to be the Brahman. That is what you are. In fact, in the case of children, I was telling last time that this gap is not there. The child, the Vaishvanara himself is the consciousness, or what we call it as consciousness or Brahman. That's why there is no difference. They cannot tell a lie. Because when you tell a lie, you can convince the whole world that you are telling the truth. But you are there witnessing behind it, saying that no, this is not true, this is a lie, what you are talking about. So this way, what happens is that the witness is something which is pure, and that purity is the purity of the consciousness. And that's what you are. You are not touched by any of these things outside. All these things, what we say is vasana, samskara, etc., these are all outside of you. These are not you. So that is the beauty of it, saying that when you can be the witness in the wakeful state, and that witness is not touched by any of these things, that same witness is there, which takes the form of Vaishvana in the wakeful state, Tajasa in the dream state, and he is there in the form of bliss in the case of the third or the Prajnasthiti. So that Vaishvana, the witness itself is called as Prajna. Prajna we say, Sthita Prajna. And from that Prajna comes this idea of Prajna. That is why you are there saying that, yes, I had a wonderful sleep, had a good sleep, I enjoyed the sleep. That means that prajna is that you are there. Like the way that there is parallel between the wakeful and the dream state, the same way there is a parallel between the prajna and the turiya. Now, in the Omkara, most important aspect before you go to the Omkara, most important aspect is that whatever that object is in there it is in the world, you have given a name to that. That's what in the first sutra itself I was saying. The our dhyaya is an object. I want to indicate about an object. That's what is called abhidhyaya. And I've given a name for that. It is abhidhana. I also said, let me recollect that idea, that I don't know in the Western languages how the name has come for any particular object. But in Sanskrit, very clearly that object has gotten the name because of certain qualities that the object has. Like, for example, earth, we don't know why they call it as earth in English. Even I don't know how many people in English people know about that. But we know when we say Dharitri, that means Dharayati, that which supports all of us is supposed to be the earth. Like that, everything has a name. In Sanskrit, that's why they say, if I call a table as a table, why? You can always question this, why do you call it as a table? That means that there is a meaning behind calling something as by particular name. It indicates that. And it's a very complex way that they have developed the whole structure of that is like they have given the dhatu pada. Dhatu emerges from that, and dhru is the dhatu. And whatever that is something which is connected with that kind of a thing is dhru, it developed out of that dhatu. Like, for example, the strength, hardness is supposed to be dridata. There also the dhatu is dhru. So, like that, just to give an example, that why you call it as what we call it is because that there is a reason behind it. How deeply that they have developed. There is nothing which can be just said like that. So, therefore, that Abhidhana Abhideya has both these things have a close connection between these two. Therefore, the moment I say the word, and only thing that I can communicate is by the words that I give, Abhidhana. That's the only way communication possible. Out of all the senses that is there, only sense through which I can communicate is by the words. So therefore, words carry the full responsibility of the information that you get from all these senses. And all these senses will give the information about the completeness about the world outside. So, therefore, that you say a word by for indicating one particular object, which means basically the word itself has a boundary because it creates an objective boundary about that. The moment I say that mango, it's only mango. It is not banana. It is not something else. Not something else. There is a boundary on that. Fruit, when I say that, fruit has its own boundary. Something falls under that boundary is called as fruit. Outside that, you call it, don't call it as fruit. So therefore, essentially that everything creates a boundary. But here we are talking about something where we would like to include, even remove this boundary called as created and the Brahman, which is unmanifest, manifest and unmanifest. Even this boundary has to go away. Both these things have to be merged. So the creation object you give by word name. So therefore he says that the wakeful state you call it as ah. Why he calls it as ah? There is a reason behind it. Because basically all the words that you have, all the expressions that you have in the wakeful state object, the basis for all that object is supposed to be ah. Modifications of ah, multiplications of ah, various manifestations of ah are the letters that are developed from this. So therefore, basically, A covers the base for all the letters that are there, which are the root for every object that's there in this world. So that's why Akara is Vaishvanara. That's how they have given the name Akara as Vaishvanara, because the earth is the base for the whole creation or the manifested world is the whole basis, is the creation of the whole thing that is there. So therefore, akara. And who is the dream? It is the bridge between the manifest to unmanifest. So unmanifest is makara. Makara is actually end of it. After makara, there is no sound. So therefore, Aum represents the wakeful dream, which is supposed to be in between the wakeful and deep sleep. And then the third is the dreamless sleep state. And that means there is no sound there. It's almost like makara coming to an end. And then what follows that is something which is unmanifest. That's why the fourth portion is very important in Om. And that is what he says that akaro nayate vishwam. If you really, nayate means actually if you contemplate on that, if you live on that akara, then it represents the whole vishwa. That means to say manifest world. And ukaraha taijasaha. That means to say it is the dream world ukara gives. Or in other words, ukara represents the sukshma world. Everything that is there, stula is there, behind that there is sukshma. And sukshma is actually, it is in the heart. So therefore, ukara represents the heart. You have a feeling in the heart, and that feeling is manifest in the form of an activity. So outside world is full of activity, and the feeling that's there behind it is what is ukara. And when you go deep inside the core, and that's what is the makara, where it merges into silence. So therefore, he says that in the 23rd sutra, he says that akaro nayate vishwam ukaraschapi taijasam and makarascha punaha prajnam. And namatra. So prajna is makara, but then what happens is makara is something that means you go to the causal state and it will come back to the wakeful state. That's why in the deep sleep state, there is nothing. It's all silence. But then though it is not fully silence because our vasanas, our samskaras, our feelings are there in the form of seed. So the seed sprouts. Like the way the moment ambience is given, the speed comes up. So that is why it is said that in Zen philosophy, a fool goes to sleep, wakes up as fool only, whereas a fool goes to samadhi, wakes up as wise. That the fourth one is the one where you will not come back. So, na matre, amatre, amatra is that silence. Amatra is the silence which is beyond all these words that are there. That is what is the silence. Now, he indicates about two different silences. Last time also I was saying. The one silence is from the silence, every activity comes up. And the silence after every activity culminates. And that is called as amatra. Amatra is that silence where we have completed all the activities and we feel satisfied. And that satisfaction takes you to that silence. Or you have outgrown the words, therefore it goes into silence. This amatra, and he says that punaha na vidyate gatihi. It doesn't pick up the speed again. That means to say, once you recognize this amatra, silence, be established in that silence, then the world does not come back. World means all its emotions, all its these things do not come back. That's what is the idea that he gives in the 23rd Sutra. And that is the culmination of the first chapter of Mandukya Upanishad. So now you see the reason why this it is given the name of Om. Om is not just casually given like that. Uh, like a child is born, they say the name of the child is Om. They simply give that name. It is not given like that. It has a meaning behind it, the purpose behind it. Not only the meaning, but you need to contemplate on that. That's why he says all these three states, Trishudhamas Yat Tulyam Samanyam Veti Nishchitaha Sapujaha. That means it is something which is a respectful grade. Unless until you feel satisfied, and the wakeful dream sleep state, then you will not go to that turiya. So the whole idea is that the moment that you go to the world outside with the dissatisfaction, then you try to fill it up with the world itself. You go with the dissatisfaction in the world, the meditating, then you try to fill it with the world itself. That's why a lot of people say, you do meditation, etc., so that meditation will give you these benefits. What benefits? You'll get a good girl, you'll get this thing, you'll get a nice child. Again, the whole thing is about the world outside, nothing beyond that world. So, whereas when you go to the meditate on this home with a sense of total satisfaction, fullness, that means enough of world and you come out of it. Unfortunately, what happened a lot of times, people they express that world is horrible, world is bad, world is terrible. Therefore, you cross the world so that you get something else much better outside. They paint the picture that the world is horrible. It is not, that is not the way that you should go to the meditation. So, meditation is not to escape from the world outside, but to outgrow the world, outgrow the akara, ukara, makara. That's what meditation. You feel fullness, you feel completeness, you feel joyful, celebrating. And that celebration of meditation of home is something which will take you to Turiya. The I always give this in the case of Patanjali Yoga Sutras also. I mentioned that when the Pratyahara withdraw from the Ahara, Ahara is the material world outside. Returning from that is what is called as Pratyahara. So Pratyahara, that means reversing from, then you go towards Dharana Dhyana Samadhi, inward journey. Outside is horrible, outside is bad, therefore you turn inwards. It's not that way. If outside is bad, then you would again, even when you turn inwards, you ask for fulfilling what is there outside. Whatever that is not happening, and you ask for that outside. And once you go with dissatisfaction, you will be dissatisfied only. Even if you do not get it, you are dissatisfied anyway. Even if you get it, you feel dissatisfied. Is it so cheap that I can get it? So therefore, your dissatisfaction still continues. So therefore, essentially, the idea is with fullness you go inwards. Akara you complete. Akara graduates into Makara. Then Makara fulfills, completes. Then it spills over into the silence, which is supposed to be the fourth state that we talk about, Turiya. Turiya, therefore, is a state of supreme satisfaction. It's not dissatisfaction, supreme satisfaction. Because any amount of dissatisfaction is there, the dissatisfaction belongs to the world outside. And world outside, then you would like to satisfy with something which is about the world outside, nothing less than that. So therefore, that your idea of going inwards is to see that, that's why it is majestically you walk into that, the fourth state. You completely, out of fullness, you spill over into the fourth state. That is the idea. So akaro nayate vishwam, that means the whole akara is supposed to be taking care of your wakeful state. Then whatever that is there, that means gross world. And if there is anything in the subtle world, and there is so much in the subtle world, even subtle world you cross with the help of Taijasaha, that is Ukaras Chapi Taijasaha. Then Makaraha, that's what is the Makara, that you go to the dreamless sleep state. That's what is the cause state. And then you go beyond Karanas. And then beyond that, when we go Prajna, that means you will never return from that. The idea is that you identify yourself with that satisfaction, then you get into the world with the sense of satisfaction. That's what is the basic difference between a yogi participating in the world, a person who is realized participating into the world, and an ordinary man participating in the world. Ordinary man participates in the world so that he gets benefit out of the world. Whereas a yogi is somebody who participates in the world with fullness. He doesn't want anything. Nothing else is satisfied anyway. There's nothing that he should get it. Once it so happened that I just returned from Doha. I got down at the airport and I was being driving from airport to Prashanti. I said, yesterday uh, there is a message that came that you should go to Dubai for a conference. I said, wow, I just came right next to Dubai. You know, Dubai to Doha is half an hour journey. And then now you want me to go back to that. Meanwhile, a phone call I received from Doha itself. Somebody from Doha said that Abramji, we want to invite you for a conference here. I said, I just returned from Doha. No, please, you must come and all. So immediately I went. Next day, I again applied for visa. I went to the Doha. And one day, 2 days in Doha, then I go to conference in Dubai. When I went to Dubai, the conference was so disorganized. As so many speakers were there, time was not sufficient. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, blah, blah, all that discussion. I was happily sitting there. And then I saw that all the discussion going. I said, look, you don't have enough time. So somebody was growling, oh, no, no, I'm prepared for a half an hour speech and they have given 20 minutes. All right, take 10 minutes from my time so that you can extend your time. And then meanwhile, another speaker came and said, no, no, you see, I'm not given enough time. I said, come on, take my time. I can take all of them. I can be happily here sitting. What? And see, the person who was present, he was saying that, complaining that, see, if I were to be in Bangalore, if I were to be there, I would have published 2 more papers, this, that, and all those things. And I wasted my time. I came all the way, all these things. I said, look, you're wasting your time, but I'm not wasting my time because I don't have any agenda anywhere, either in Bangalore or here. If I don't have to talk also, that's fine because they provided nice accommodation, nice place to sleep, nice flight, come back and go. Finish. It's a holiday without no expenses. Prepaid holiday. So then that girl was really, she said, how can you be like that? See, you don't have any time to speak. I said, no, I don't need any of that. I don't want to change the world. World is wonderful. I thought. So how can you be like that? I said, God sent two types of people. One category of people to change the world. They give talks, they publish papers, they do these things and change the world. Another category of people, they come to enjoy the world. I'm the second category. I don't really have to do anything. You feel satisfied. Once you are in the sense of satisfaction, nothing else disturbs you. So that is what is the idea. You will, person who is realized, I mean, I'm just giving my simple, but otherwise, a person really gets into the world, but the world he cannot get into. That is why he says that punaha pragyam na matre amatre na punaha vidyate gatihi. That's a very beautiful statement. And that is the 23rd sutra in the first karika and the first chapter in the Gaudapada Karika. It's a very important sutra. He says that makarascha punaha, makarascha and punaha pragyam namatre vidyate gatihi. There is no way that you get back to the world outside. That's the reason why you do not get caught up in the world outside. You are still in the world like anybody else, but he is not caught up in the world outside. He goes into the world with a sense of satisfaction. You know, when once you are in the sense of satisfaction, success, failure, appreciation, praise and blame, none of these things will touch you because you are not touched by this world outside. So that is what basically the way that Gaudapada completes that chapter of Agama Prakarana, first one. The second thing he says, the Upanishad, he comes to the idea, and there are few shlokas of Upanishad. Only one shloka. Amatras chaturtho avya. So amatraha. See, now what happens is that the fourth state is amatra. What happens in the amatra is chaturtha, the fourth state. That's what is Upanishad mantra, 12th mantra. Avyavaharyaha. That's a very important. Vyavahara is not there for him. That means the creation is a vyavahara. Creation is nothing but actually the creation happened because of the case of interaction. Like as I always said that the hunger and food, the creation is divided into two by hunger and food. And when you vyavahara is that hunger, food is meant for this hunger, and you put them together, you have a satisfaction experience. So therefore, you get the experience of satisfaction the moment you put these two things together. Vyavahara is there. But the moment you are sitting in the amatraha chaturthaha, that means to say you are in the turiya, the fourth state, then amatraha avyavaharyaha. That means you are not into the vyavahara. Vyavahara is happening outside. Like the way that a mirror is pure, as long as the object comes and goes, mirror is not interfering with the object outside. Mirror is pure, clean, clear. Amatra chaturtha avyavaharya. And why? What happens is that prapancha upashamaha. The whole prapancha for that person who is there identified himself with the chaturtha. The prapancha is upashamaha. That means to say it is going on its own. It is completely upashama means silenced for him or quietened for him. It's going on, but for him it is quietened. He is not involved in that. And Shivaha, it's Mangala, pure. Advaitaha, there is no question of duality in that. There is only one state, Advaitaha. Evam Omkaraha, Atmaiva Samvishati. And that's where basically the Atma, yourself is there in that Samvishati. Atmana Atmanam, Ya Evam Veda, Ya Evam Veda. This is what the Upanishad says, that be yourself in that fourth state. Always when you sit for meditation, etc., etc., try to identify yourself with the fourth state. That's very important. And fourth state can happen only when you fully feel, completely merge yourself into Akara and then Ukara and Makara, then you go to that silence. That means say wholeness will be there in the Akara, wholeness will be there in Ukara and Makara. Then that wholeness will become one with the fourth state. And what Upanishad says is that you're always touching that fourth state. Whenever you are chanting Om knowingly, unknowingly, consciously, unconsciously, by any other thing that you are saying Om, you are always touching that fourth state. Only thing is that we don't allow that fourth state to persist. Immediately something or the other we will bring in saying that I'm wasting my time or I should be doing something. Why not I say one more Om? Why not I say some mantra? So this is how we come outside. Otherwise, that silence is the most important thing. Ekam, in fact, that is what is the idea that in Shuka, he only once he heard and then goes into that silence. He never came back from that silence. We can also become like that, established ourselves in silence. Now, this whole concept is very, uh, there is, in order to explain this concept, it brought about all this Maya, etc., etc. I'm not for all these kind of analogies of Maya, all this. I'm much more, I feel much more easily we can explain, particularly those days when they said about all this separate thing, that is, manifest world is separate and God is separate. And God is sitting there in the heaven and the world is here. Took a magic wand and created the universe. This is what they have. Western people have it. But in India also that there were so many people saying that God is something and then world is something. And you belong to the world and then God is something. So this is what is the idea that they have. But then how they bring about all this, and they have given name this as this is Maya and that's what is real. So the world that you are in Maya and a lot of damage is done by giving this idea. Maya is that does not exist and all that. But it is not that concept. The whole concept is that Brahman is something which is unmanifest. It's all pervasive. That is what today we call it as consciousness. What they call it as prajna, we call it as consciousness today. And then manifest world is full of activity, activity continuously moving. Gachati iti jagat. That is what is the way that this description has come. Everything in this creation is something which is constantly moving. But behind this moving, there is something which is non-moving, and that's supposed to be the Brahman consciousness. Or that's what is you are. Now, how to understand this point? For me, much more easier way when we call it as consciousness, a simple layman's experience of consciousness idea is that somebody who is unconscious is somebody who doesn't have these two qualities. One is called as the feeling, and the other is the freedom. And the moment you come to consciousness, two things that manifest, you can test for that. One is called as the freedom, and the other is the feeling. When you touch it, did you feel my touch? Yes, I felt that. That means you are conscious. Even the leg which is paralyzed, absolutely lost its consciousness, you touch it, you don't feel the touch. Not only that, paralysis, but even when you're sitting for a long time and the leg goes to sleep state, it is like benumbed. And you touch the feet, you don't feel the touch. Consciousness is not there. But once again, the circulation restores, everything comes back, consciousness comes back. Yes, you feel the touch. That means the feeling is the expression of presence of consciousness. Similarly, next presence of the consciousness is the freedom. In fact, these two terms are the terms which represent us the presence of consciousness or the consciousness itself. You can't improve that. There is no third thing about that. And these two are sufficient for us. We have the feeling and the freedom. That means to say, if my eyes are seeing, eyes cannot themselves see because eyes are the matter. Whereas behind the eyes, there should be consciousness. You are there, that's why you are seeing it. Touching sensation, you are there behind that sort. So who touches, who hears, who sees? That's what is the consciousness. You are doing that. So therefore, you are the consciousness. And you also have the freedom. So once you say the consciousness is the freedom, one of the important qualities of freedom, which our Shastras repeatedly said, is that it is a freedom to give up its freedom. A freedom which cannot give up its freedom is not a freedom at all. It is restricted. But it gives up. That's why we have mantra saying that yajno yajnana kalpitam. Yajna gives itself to yajna so that what happens is that the Paramatma, first yajna is supposed to Paramatma, becomes Jivatma. Jivatma has all the freedom, everything that is there, but it is limited in that one particular area. Individuality, individuation takes place. So that one step down, further it can down, further down, saying that the consciousness becomes your eyes, seeing property is there, ears, hearing property is there. Mind has everything. Mind has seeing, hearing, and all those things, but it restricts itself to only hearing and filters all other concepts, all other experiences. That becomes ear. Seeing is the only thing, all the others are filtered out is the eyes. So that means to say it narrows it down to a small little area. This whole structure has become like that. The consciousness losing its freedom to become objects of lesser and lesser degree of consciousness. The whole thing in the nature also like that. In the nature also it is something like that, where that when every other property is removed and what you have is only the property of heaviness, that becomes the earth, solidity. That's what is the earth. Whereas something which has got the flow and some amount of solidity and the flow, that's what is liquid. And that is what is Prithvi Apaha. And then something which has a freedom, much more included freedom. That's what is its flows, it occupies any volume. That's what is the air. Prithvi, Apa, Tejo, Vayu, Akasha. These are all the things which are basically one after the other manifestation of higher and higher degree of freedom. Now, when you look at that, Akasha is something which can become anything when you look at the world outside. See, Akasha, it doesn't have its own space also like that, you know. It's like the way I bring an object. The moment I put in the object, that the space that is there previously occupying that place is not replaced. It takes the same shape, everything that is there, it is there itself. Akasha is still there. It's a beautiful concept that we have. That's what is the meaning of Akasha. The space, it is not only that there is space, you can put any object, but there's another very important property of the space is space also continues to be there in spite of the fact that you put any object in that. It does not go away. That is that freedom. Beyond the spaces, what is that? Yourself. So consciousness. So consciousness is something which is subtler than the space and which becomes everything. So therefore, the experience of freedom and free, it belongs to consciousness. It's always there, even in the body, even in any part of it, the consciousness is there in its own way. Like, for example, a plant has a consciousness, a tree has a consciousness, river has a consciousness, earth has everything has a consciousness behind it. That means everything is made up of the same Paramatma that is there. But it is something which is intellectually acceptable. Can you feel it? That means the way that I have myself, I accept myself as the consciousness, Turiya. The same Turiya is existing in the whole manifest world outside. If you can see that, then you are not disturbed by the world outside. Tatra ko moha kashoka ekatvam pashyatah. We see only oneness. There is no question of moha, mind, and shoka. There is no question of sadness about that. So this is idea, we get it. So Omkara, now mm, so the next 24th, 25th, 26th and all that, we'll talk about the pranava, Omkara, and how this Omkara will give you. After that, Vaithatya Prakana, we'll come to this. Now, Tatya is reality. Second chapter. Vaitatya is that what is not Tatya, other than Tatya, is supposed to be Vaitatya. So, Tatya means that exists, but that gives like it is existing is called as Vaitatya. No, it gives an appearance called as it is existing is supposed to be Vaitatya. Now, normally what happens for us is that objective world existing. See, this is what is our perception. What is, I touch it, I feel it, I hear it, then that exists. This is what is our idea. So Tatya for us is that. This world is Tatya. A table is Tatya. This chair is Tatya. So this is what we have Tatya. But he gives that a very interesting twist to this whole thing, saying that it appears to be existing, but it borrows the property of existence from the consciousness. Therefore, it appears to be existing. Please listen to it carefully. That itself does not exist, but it borrows the existence, the property of existence from the Brahman, from the consciousness, appears to be existing. Otherwise, it doesn't exist as it is. Or this is what is called, or not that it doesn't exist yet, but this is what is the way that you give a wrong impression for like that. Like my hands seem to be lively, but actually the hand itself does not have a life, but it borrows the life from the consciousness. Therefore, that hand looks to be living. My body looks to be living because that the consciousness is there within that. But that consciousness appears to be like living this body, making me feel that this body. Like the way sunlight falls on this moon and then moon appears. But actually what we are seeing is not the moon, or moon is the background, but sunlight is that which is making you to see the moon. But it looks like that moon is appearing. So therefore, that this is Vaitatya is Prakarana is about this world which gives a feeling of appearing in front of you. Now, this appearance can be in different ways. There's a very beautiful concept is that reality is the Turiya, the consciousness, reality is Brahman, and you are that reality, Atmasthiti. But all these things are supposed to be the appearing reality in the world outside. Vaitatya is appearing reality. And what is this appearing reality? Is something which is constantly moving. That is the quality. Jatasya, whatever that is born, it has to continuously move. And that moving is what is supposed to be karma. So this activity is something which is the world. Everything is constantly moving. But behind that moving, you are there. Many times what happens is you don't see the movement because that you feel that it is still and you want it should not move, but it has to move. For example, that we were also child and then adult, adolescent, adult. So this movement is happening. But in spite of it, we feel that I am there all the time. Yes, that's true because the consciousness I am, therefore I am there. But this moment is something which is belonging to the world outside. And we do all kinds of activity because manifest world is nothing but full of activity. Everywhere activity is going on, we do the activity. Do the activity, that's all. But unfortunately, what happened that activity becomes, which is natural quality of the active manifest world. But we take it so seriously about this activity that our activity has to give the fruit. It should develop something better, something good. It has to result into something. This is what we are caught up in that. It says, no, where with the activity? Let the activity go on. Don't look at fruit of action because fruit is insignificant. The activity is like the way that you write it on the surface of water. The moment you write, the letters are already gone, finished, over. It doesn't exist. Short time. So therefore, but we write with an idea that yes, the whatever writing that I write should stay forever. It doesn't stay. How many people have come on this earth and written so many things on this earth, did such a great work? Where are they? They've all gone. It's all like the way that the writing on the water, like writing in the sand. That's all, it doesn't exist. How many millions of billions and zillions of people have gone in this world and come and then did great work and then went away? It didn't make any sense to the trees or plants or the sun or moon and all that. How many times that they might have, in fact, we celebrate that Sahasra Chandra Darshana. 80 years, celebrate as 1,000 moons that you have seen. And that means every moon rises and sets. That means 1,000 Purnima that you have seen. Sahasra Chandra Darshana. You have done completed Sahasra Chandra Darshana, but for it makes no sense to Chandra himself. He is never bothered that you are born and you die. You have seen thousand. He doesn't celebrate. So many things are there. It's all for, that's why basically the celebration is just celebration. It's not for anything else. And in which case then every moment is a celebration. This moment you are there is a celebration because this moment that you are consciousness yourself. Every moment we feel that we are consciousness, it's nothing but celebration. As I said that in the conference, that I went to Dubai, somebody paid for me and then provided nice accommodation, nice food. People were there, good company. I spent the whole time and then came back to India. Finish. Celebration. Nothing else. Every moment you should be able to celebrate. That's what is the idea. Now, this manifest world is explained in so many different ways. So that is what in the next sutras very beautifully um, Gaudapada brings about. And you see, like from 20th Sutra of Gaudapada right up to about 41st Sutra, yeah, there are so many different ways that you explain about this manifest world. They all belong to the manifest world. Real or unreal is not the question, but they are the manifest world. Can be explained in so many ways. Some people explain the manifest world as prana. It's all prana. Yes, there are theories which says that nothing but prana, prana's various ways. Prana means spandana, vibration. So that's why actually one Upanishad mantra says that prana spandanam somya manaha. Uh, pranam, prana spandanameva jagat. Jagat is nothing but prana spandana. That's one theory. Wonderful. One way of looking at it. Similarly, another way of looking at it, we know that it is the idea called this whole thing is full of gunas. You see, anything is nothing but gunas. That's what even Sankhya philosophy also talks about gunas. Similarly, that there is another way that it says that it is various lokas. Yes, seven lokas above, seven lokas down. Bhu, Bhuva, Subha, etc., etc. All these lokas are there. Mata, Janaha, etc. All those. And downward also, Atala, Vitala, Pata. So all those things are there. Particularly, you see, when you read the uh, Garuda Purana, you see that how many lokas that you travel go up. So there was somebody's views about this manifest world in the form of various lokas. All those things are within the manifest world only, but it is their own perception. And this is somebody saying Gandharva Loka. Very really that there is some Gandharva Loka that is there. This is what their explanation is. You go to the Gandharva Loka, there. In fact, in Islam, it is very strong that when you die, that you go there, and then there'll be 72 huris are there. Women are there waiting for you. So all that. So it's an imagination. Fine. All these imaginations are there. Various things are there. Some Vijnana lokas. So there are another way. This is nothing but Vijnana. Then Bhuta, Murta, Amurta. So like that, there are various ways that this word has to be explained by various people. Sankhya gives, 26 sutras of Sankhya followed by so many things. Vaisheshika gives another way of looking at these things. So there are different ways of looking at it. Today, if you look at chemistry person, earlier we had way of even today also that Indian philosophy looks at it is nothing but panchabhutas. Five different bhutas together, Prithvi, Apa, Tejo, Vayu, Akasha. That bhuta is wrongly translated as element. Element is different, bhuta is different. Whereas in science, it is looked in the form of elements. So earlier we had something like 98 elements, then it is increased to 108 elements, and now there are more than 120 elements. So elements are the basically the basic thing. So fine, the world is made out of all. Then somebody came up with saying that all these elements are also not true, but really they're atoms. When you look at subatomic, when you go, it's nothing but energy. Nothing but energy. That's what today the boson experiment is nothing but energy. Consciousness is energy. So these are the ways that the world has been defined. For a musician, the whole world is nothing but beautiful music that's going on. So like that, each one has his own view about this world. There are so many different ways of the world. Many times what happens is this Advaita philosophers, they try to condemn these things the way saying that all these things belong to the manifest world, which is supposed to be Maya, which is Mithya, whereas the reality is only Brahman. Therefore, all these things are secondary or these are to be rejected. That's not the idea. Whereas Upanishad holds a view that variety can be there only in the manifest world. Like, for example, words can have variety, silence does not have any variety. There's only one silence. Whether a French man goes into silence, a Britisher goes to silence, a Sanskrit person goes into silence, silence is one and the same thing. Even the experience of deep sleep state, dreamless sleep state, is same for everybody. And that is same for everybody, even these things also same for everybody. So therefore, you can't have variety in the case of Advaita, the Brahman that is there, which we can accept it. But when you interact with the Dvaita world outside, you can have various ways. So many philosophies that have come about. We ourselves in Indian philosophy give 20 different philosophies that ways that how this world can be understood. This is what I said while talking about the Shastras also, the ways of looking at it. Nyaya is one of the ways of looking at it, Darshana. That's why Nyaya Darshana. Another darshana is the Sankhya darshana. Sankhya is one of the way of looking at it. Like that, these are the major darshanas, major way of looking at it. These are the six darshanas. But it can be only possible in the case of manifest world. This is what Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, that the goal is the same, but paths may be separate, different. But goal is one and the same thing. Goal is supposed to be the idea called as turiya. But the paths may be different. Different paths can lead you to that. But the beauty of that path, the greatness of that path is that it should lead you to Turiya. Any practice that we do in this manifest world outside should be a valid spiritual journey, provided it takes me towards that Turiya, or it gives me freedom from attachment to the path, attachment to my direction. It's so beautifully said. We are at the down of the hill, so we require paths. We require paths. Somebody has a Dvaita path, somebody has Visishta Dvaita path. Somebody is a Hindu, somebody is a Christian, somebody is something, something like that. We need a path. But ultimately, the goal is the same. That's why somebody very beautifully said that when you are at the hill of the foot of the hill, then you have various ways of reaching to the uh, path. From whichever direction, wherever you are, from that you reach to the top of the mountain. Whereas when you are on the top of the mountain, you see that all the paths are coming back to that. That's why it is said that when you are at the foothill of the foot of the hill, you are in viewpoint. You are at the no, sorry, you have a point of view. Whereas when you are at the top of the hill, you are at the viewpoint. When you are viewpoint, you can see the whole panorama in front of you. Once you identify yourself with that Turiya Sthiti, the fourth state, then you don't have dispute with various paths. Each person can come by whatever the direction, wherever he is there, from that he can come to that. So we have idea of acceptance of all these different points of view, provided that in the manifest world, these points of view will lead you towards the ultimate. Towards the ultimate, the same thing which is supposed to be Turiya. This is what basically in the 20th chapter to about 40th chapter, in the second uh, Karika, he talks about that. And it's a very beautiful way that he presented these things. Let me give you a few ideas how it is that. So ultimately, what he says, somebody who is there at the ultimate level, there is no question of sadhana for him. That's what is the 32nd sutra in the second. न निरोधो न चोत्पत्तिः न बद्धो न च साधकः न मुमुक्षु न वै मुक्तः इत्येषा परमार्थतः. There is no question of sadhana for you when you are totally in that fourth state. Na nirodha na chospatti. That's what is the ultimate idea that he gives in the 32nd sutra in this Karika. And before that, this is what is prana iti pranavido, bhutani chita tadvidata. This is what 20th sutra says. That guna iti gunavido. This is what is three gunas made out of the world is made of. Tattvani iti cha tadvidaha. Gunas and tattva is the way that the world is created. And this is what is another way of looking at the world. Pada iti padavido, vishaya iti tadvidaha. From the padas, that means to say Prathama pada, Dvitiya, Tritiya pada. Like that, the world can be divided. Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti. But then ultimately the idea is to go to that Turiya. Loka iti lokavido, Deva iti cha tadvidaha. You have different devatas given to the various portfolios. Fine. They're all fine. You give. Ganesha is for one particular thing, Hanuman is for one particular thing. Fine. But ultimately, the idea is to see that how we can go to Turiya. If we can take you to Turiya, then all these things are wonderful. But it's not the question of that my God is better than your God, so that your God cannot take you, my God will take you. If this way, if we are fighting it, that means basically that's not the purpose of all this creation that is there. Veda iti Veda Vido, Yajna iti cha tadvida. Like there are four Vedas that we have. Apart from these four Vedas, there are so many other. Veda means actually knowledge bank. There are so many knowledge banks are there. But all these things are to see that how we can take you towards that ultimate. If it is not helping us, then your understanding is short of it. Otherwise, look at this whole culture, 10,000 years culture. Veda is nothing but people from various places, they practice, and that's what is recorded. Their experience is recorded. If their experience are recorded, which can take them to the, it can also help you. If it did not help you, it helps to fight with each other. Then actually that your understanding is not clear. Understanding is not sufficient. Look at that way. Similarly, Bhokte cha bhoktarvido bhojyamite tadvida. Yajna iti cha tadvid. See, there are several yajnas that are given to us in the form of various uh, puja yajnas that are there. All these things are taking you towards that turiya sthiti. If it helps you that way, that all these yajnas are good. But today, that there are, say, for this particular thing, you do this yajna, surya yajna. For that, you do parjanya yajna. For this, oh, there are so many varieties that they have created. But ultimately, why they have become separate? The goal seemed to be about the material world outside. It's not going towards Turiya. If you are going towards the material world, then you stopped harm. You, you are not going anywhere else. Spiritual growth is not there. Sukshmita sukshmito sthulaichata tadvidaha. There are people who think that the story is not important, sukshma is important. Sukshma iti sukshma. All this is nothing but sukshma. Yes, it can be accepted this way that, for example, whatever that object that we have in front of us, it has got basically a sukshma aspect behind it. Like a simple thing that if I'd like to make a cup of tea, I have in my mind this sukshma aspect of tea, and it gives manifestation to the world outside by preparing tea. Whether it comes in the right way or not, that's a different issue. But actually, it is the manifestation of sukshma world that is there. So try to explain about the sukshma is what is that which is unmanifest level, but manifest but unexpressed level. That's what is very important. So this is where basically the psychologists have come about. It's all about the sukshma world. Murtaiti murtavido, amurtaschaiti tadvidaha. Even the murti, form that is there, so many different murtis are there. Ultimately, it has to go to amurtaha. If it can take you to amurta, that is beyond the murti, that's what is important. Unfortunately, people who have said that there is no murti puja at all, that means object is not there. Their whole idea is to destroy the object. That means for them, object has become very real. That's why they are destroying it. But here he says that it's not the destroying of the object. You take the murti and then go to the level of amurta. It's like the way that I use the crutches to walk when my leg is injured. I use the crutches to walk. But once I can walk without the crutches, I keep the crutches aside. This murti is like a crutch, that is how you using it. So that I go to amurta, but not to destroy the crutches. Unfortunately, what happened is that this is where the whole religious fight that goes on between the uh, murti, I know people who are image worshippers and image non worshippers. The problem is that For the image worshippers, whatever the importance image has, for the people who destroy such image, that image becomes much more important for them. They could do more, much better constructive work, but rather than destroying the images, what an unfortunate thing it is. Somebody puts his effort to create an image, leave it alone. But you put all the effort to destroy the image. What an unfortunate thing it is. Simple idea I say is Murti Ichita Murti. That's it. Murti Ichita Murtavido. Realize that Murti is there. For what? Amurta Ichata. Finally, we need to go to that Amurta. Beyond the Murti. Don't get caught up in the world outside. All the rituals are there to see that how you can go beyond the rituals, get caught up in the rituals. Kala iti kalavido, disha iti tadvidah. Kala and disha, these are all the things which are connected with the time and the direction. Sun rises in the east, sun sets in the west. If you look at the nature, where is the question of east and west? There's nothing. It's only for your sake that disha is there, so that you can establish kala. Go beyond that. That's what is the idea. Vada iti cha vada vido, bhunani iti tadvidah. So every aspect he has given in this world, whatever that the knowledge in this world that we have, fine, there is nothing against this knowledge. I'm not fighting with any knowledge, but only thing is that every knowledge, if it can use to see that you can go to that turiya, the fourth state, then that knowledge is useful, effort is useful, and that whole perception is wonderful. That's why in this culture that we have saints who created mathematics, saints who created medicine, saints who created even the people who have given us the politics are also saints, like Chanakya, a great saint. So that's why I recognize that you can become spiritual by taking any of these things, provided you reach that ultimate called as Turiya. So this is what is the gist of this second uh, karika that Gaudapada has given. Beautiful karika, very nice, wonderful samanvaya kind of karika, bringing together various ideas. So all these things developed in this culture, let's recognize that and let's stop it here. Continue the discussion next week as we proceed. Next week I will not be here because I'm on tour. 1 week after that we'll meet again. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. So you can unmute if you have any questions or anything like that, comments. Namaste Annapurna.
Raghuramji, what
Yes.
is find out that you are reaching that Turiya state?
What is?
How do you know that you're
Hmm.
at Turiya state or you are approaching? Or,
I didn't. I didn't. Oh, who is Purna is asking?
yeah, yes, sir.
Ah. Hey, what? Your voice is breaking, Purni.
Okay.
Sir,
Ah.
she's asking what is, how do you know that you reached Turiya state or approaching the Turiya state?
Beautiful question is that, as I said, that if you feel the fullness, you don't have anything to add upon. Yeah, just that's what is the fullness. That's what is Turiya. Turiya state is not is a state of some that's what is Trupto Bhavati, Atma Ramo Bhavati. That's what is the description Narad Bhakti Sutra gives. Trupti Sthiti. You don't want anything, you don't add anything. That's what is Puri. Turiya is Brahman. If Brahman is also having something to want, then who can save him from?
Raghuramji, the state of satisfaction, so does it not make us laid back or
Huh. Uh, you see, actually, when the state of satisfaction is there, you will become innovative from within. See, your creativity come. See, the whole sense of the this is the two views that is there. Western view is that that it's a fall that has creation. He was miserable. That's why he created the world outside. That's one thing. He was getting bored, therefore he created the world. Second worldview is that it's a fall. That means Adam and uh, Eve, they took the apple, so therefore the fall has taken place. Otherwise, the creation is a fall. You have done the original sin. Indian philosophy says that you have creative ability within you, and that is basically responsible for your activity. So you don't lay back when you feel that satisfaction. Activities come out of fullness of that satisfaction.
I mean, to add on to this, see,
Hmm.
we have moments where we are having this contented state or
Yeah.
the satisfied state, but we
Hmm.
don't stay in that state. I mean,
Ah.
immediately we would want something else, or I mean,
Hmm.
when it's only very short-lived for us, very short-lived experience for us.
Right. So now onwards, continue to maintain that experience of fullness or satisfaction, and then do the activity. When you do that, any activity for that matter, go and do that activity, because creation is identified by with the activity. Karma is the way that the manifested world is all about. And when you do that way, that activity will be a celebration. You see, celebration that you do it, it's not because that you need something. It's just you. See, that is one of the reasons why we have so many festivals. Every festival that you joyfully do it, there is no question of any need for that. If a festival we do it that way, how many things that we do it, so many activities, in spite of the fact that we are busy, that we still continue to do the activity when the festival comes. That means out of all that, we can do that. If festivity is something that when it comes, we can do that, why can't we do that, bring about that mood? Everyday activity becomes festival. That's the idea. So we never did it activity for the sake of getting something. We did the activity because we enjoy doing that activity.
No,
Namaste, Raghuramji.
Yes,
Like you
namaste.
said, so
Mm.
that means we have to keep doing manana, right? That contentment or satisfaction, the joy
Yes,
is my true nature.
it's ourselves. Yes, identify
So
with that.
we need to say
That's what
every
is
day,
not
like
only
she.
manana, but
Mm,
manana should culminate into nididhyas. That means you are satisfied.
yeah, correct.
So,
see,
Shravana
the
Because
Manana
thing,
Nididhyasana.
the person
okay,
who is contented also goes through his or her low moments. Okay, so will this contented state, because you have
Yeah.
experienced both, right? Where you have experienced contented state as well as your depressed state, let's say. So how does one pick up from that?
Mm.
It's
So,
not, yeah, I mean, I don't know whether I'm really making it clear. How does one do the transition between that, or elevate themselves to that state?
see, it is not the question of you are depressed. If the question is that you identify yourself with the depression, no,
Oh, okay.
don't identify with that. It's okay, failure is there, failure is there. Don't identify with that. Moment you don't identify with that, then you see that you become contented again. You get back to the joy.
Hmm. It's just a happening. I mean, it's an
It is,
event.
yes.
You have to
It's
treat it as an event.
Yeah, it's an event.
Yeah.
There is no question of success. That's why I gave that example that how many people have come on this earth and then for so many thousands
Yeah,
of years did so
exactly.
many things. Where is it's all left like the way that writing on the water. They just left. You also write on the water. That's it. Where is the question of success or failure?
Yeah,
People like
today
Ramayana,
I think
all
I
that.
had a slight clarity of the appearance. It is
Mm.
very difficult for us to understand that what we are living in is an appearance. Though all the texts say
Yeah.
that that is not the real, that is the appearance. Today
Mm.
you have given us a very beautiful example of
Right.
moon and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to keep on reminding ourselves about
Right.
the
In
appearance.
fact, that's the reason why this Mandukya Upanishad becomes very important. It
Okay.
has two important messages. One message is that look at the way, how wonderful is the wakeful state. But you don't stay in the wakeful state. You have to go to the dream. You have to go to the sleep.
Mm.
If you don't go to the sleep, then you'll become a patient at the doctor. So you should withdraw and come out of it. You know that every day you can withdraw. It's happening within you. So therefore, why do you take it so seriously?
I know.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you, Raghuramji. We are so blessed to have you, really.
Oh, thank
Like, is it also because the way we react to situation, like she was saying, we are depressed at the same time. We know that there are certain times when we are content. So is it
Mm.
also a conditioning which has happened, like maybe our the way we have, been brought up or how our elders reacted to
No,
situations?
our environment has created all these things put to one word. Environment
Yeah.
created that.
Okay.
Environment gave the reality towards that.
Hmm. So now
You
that we
see,
have a different
I'll give you,
understanding,
I'll give you a very simple example. And you see, when my son was small and then he was in the school, so they did the drama. He skilled children to do that. And then each child comes after that and then comes and says that the child played the role of butterfly. So that I was a butterfly. Now I am Meena. This is just there. Other, I was a tiger, but I am Rajesh. Another child. Another child comes. I was Sirish, and I'm elephant. Actually, he played the other way around. Everybody laughed. They said, no, I'm Sirish, and I was Sirish, and I'm elephant. Once again, he went and again laughed. Actually, that became big, much better entertainment than the drama that they played.
Yes.
Oh, beauty.
In fact, sometimes when I mean, as a teacher, I can tell you that when we started calling, like one child was a Mowgli. We did the Jungle Book, and
Mm.
one child was a Mowgli, and forever he has been remained as a Mowgli because
Yeah.
yeah, because he did that part so well that
Yeah.
we called him. His name was Arun, but we called him Mowgli only. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's so
So.
lovely.
Yeah. And his whole personality changed because
Yeah.
he played that role.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly what happens. The moment that you take this world as something that you have freedom to play with, that freedom is you. See, that freedom belongs to consciousness, means you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
that's
How
freedom.
you deal with it.
Right. How you
Mm,
deal with it. I
mm,
deal with it in such a way that it gives me joy, gives others also joy.
mm,
Everybody
mm.
enjoys.
Yeah. I hope we remember that every moment.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you,
Actually, that's the
Raghuramji. Thank you so much.
spiritual journey is a journey into this joy and the bliss.
Yeah.
It's not a burden. Okay. Thanks a
Thank you.
lot.
Thank you so much.
We'll meet next to next week.